You're watching Total Carp Fishing TV, and today we're looking at PB Products Ready-to-Go rig range. There's a huge selection of rigs to choose from. You've basically got the full setup from your leader all the way down to your rig, so that all that you need to do is tie it on and put on your hook bait and you are ready to go, as the name suggests. As you can see, there's a huge selection there, so I think the best thing to do is run through the different rigs and lead setups in the range, the sorts of situations you might use them. So yeah, let's get into it. So as I mentioned at the start, the Ready-to-Go rig range includes both the rig and also the lead arrangement and leader. So you can literally tie it directly onto the end of your main line and get fishing straight away. The leaders used within the Ready-to-Go range is PB Products Silk Ray leader. This is a really nice, heavy, supple, leadless leader. And I'll show you that now if I take this rig that I've got next to me. As you can see, it's got a nice flex coloration, really, really limp, and it's really heavy. So that will sit down nicely on the lake bed, following all the sort of contours, keeping it well away from any of the carp. The next thing to consider is the actual lead arrangements, of which there's 3 different lead arrangements. This one that I've got here is a heli chod system. So basically what you've got is a buffer bead at the bottom with a clip for attaching your lead. You've then got the heli chod, which is basically a bit of a rubber sleeve with 2 beads on it, and this effectively allows you to move this whole section up and down your leader, so that if you're fishing over a softer lake bed or maybe over a bit of weed, you can position it as and where you see fit. So I'll just slide that back down to the bottom for a more conventional style setup. So next up is the hit and run lead clip, which is really your sort of all-rounder, covering most situations out there. You can easily just pop off the tail rubber, put your lead on, makes it really easy to fish, really easy to change rigs, and you can present over a lot of different lake beds. And then you've got a hit and run inline system. Now, this obviously you can put your hit and run lead onto there, and that's ideal for fishing a much clearer lake bed where you want that inline setup. So both this, the inline and the lead clip, feature what's called the hit and run lead system. And what this is a pulley system. So basically your leader material runs through the inside of this stem. It then goes through the eye of the swivel rather than attaching to it. It can go through the eye of the swivel, back out the side of the stem, and is lassoed round. And as I mentioned, this effectively creates a pulley system whereby if I dislodge that, I can pull the leader through. And because there's 2 sections of leader here and 1 section coming through the other side, for every centimetre that you pull on this side, you get 2 centimetres of movement on the other side. So that's going to increase your indication, and it also makes it a really, really safe system, because effectively is if you crack off, when the fish moves off, it'll effectively just pull that leader straight through the centre of the insert, and then eventually you'll just have your hook link swivel running on your leader. That'll pull off the end, and if the fish still has the rig in its mouth, it'll only be left with just the rig and none of the actual lead setup. So they're the different lead setups and the leaders available. So let's now take a look at each of the rigs and the different components used across the range. Probably the most popular rig out there at the moment has got to be the Ronny Rig, so it's no surprise that this does feature in the range. You've got a couple of different variations, this one here being the Ronny Rig Stiff. As you can see, you've got a conventional Ronny Rig end section, and that's tied onto a curved KD hook. Got a little micro ring swivel there, tiny little oval hook bead, and then it's utilising a nice stiff material there so that it kicks that rig away from the lead. On a similar theme, keeping with the stiff rigs, there is also the variation where you've got a contraliner, which are PB's large sinkers. This helps just really overweight the rig and really drives that hook point down towards the fish's bottom lip. That also means that when you're fishing super, super buoyant hook baits, you don't have the rig wafting around all over the place if you want to keep it nicely positioned on the lake bed. And finally, when it comes to the Ronny rigs, you've got this variation here, which is the Ronny Rig Soft. As you can see, that's created with a really soft boom. It's actually the exact same material that's used for the leader, so it's really, really heavy, spliced at both ends. So that's just going to settle down really, really nicely with plenty of movement wherever that gets sucked up from. Moving on from there, you've got a couple of Combi Rig presentations. This one here is called the Combi Rig Big Water. Effectively, it's a big fish rig. It's constructed from a heavy jelly wire coated hook link That's a really nice material. You can literally straighten it out between your fingers if there's any little kinks in there. You've got that soft brake at the end, a large curved kicker. The soft braid on the hair is just whipped around the bend of the hook there, and then on the long hair you've also got a little sort of hook retaining bead, so that if you're fishing like a large double bait or maybe something like a big snowman, you can simply buff that up against the bottom of the bait so it's not going to fall away. Keeping on the topic of combi rigs, you've also got the Combi Rig Soft, which utilises a soft coated hook link. Once again, that's jelly wire, again with a line liner on there and the whipped hair onto the shank of the hook, just near the bend, and then your conventional hair. But you will see that this version here has got a shot on the hook bead, and this is something that features throughout much of the range. You've got the option of having the rig with a shot on the hook, which really helps that hook fall down into the perfect position for catching hold. Next up, you've got a conventional liner rig. So this is a really supple hook link. As you can see there's no stiffness in that hook link. You've got one of the short shank liners. So these are a nice long shape to basically extend short shank hooks to make them nice and long. And what that effectively does is it makes the hook turn really, really quickly once it's in the fish's mouth. Again, you've got that hair whipped onto the shank of the hook just as it goes onto the bend to help load that hook point. As I mentioned, these come on various different lead arrangements, but this one here could make a nice rig for putting inside a PVA bag or for fishing in the edge. That's a nice little combination there. And then again, a very similar sort of rig is the shot on the hook rig, which has the same sort of setup, but once again, utilising that shot on the hook bead. So if you want a rig that's going to be really, really fast acting, as you'll see, it turns even quicker in the hand. And that shot on the hook bead just really adds more weight onto that hook point so it drives home in the fish's mouth. Whilst on the topic of the shot on the hook rig, and in fact the other rigs in the range as well, you can also get the variation where you've once again got this large contra liner. These are called the overweighted varieties, and effectively what that does is it creates a really, really heavy section just behind the hook so that your rig acts really fast as if it's literally a 1 or 2 inch hook link, while still giving you plenty of play so that you're not getting bad hook holds. So as you can see, that in combination with the shot on the hook really does literally drive that hook point. As soon as it gets dropped, it will drive that hook point into the fish's mouth, creating a rig that's really hard for the carp to deal with. So there you go, that's PB Products Ready-to-Go rig range. And it's worth mentioning a couple of different things as well, is that obviously the rigs come in a variety of different hook sizes, so you can find a rig that suits the situation that you're facing. And it's worth mentioning that each of the packs comes with 2 rigs. So if you want any more information on the different varieties that are available, any of the sort of the further specs, things like the exact products that are used in each of the rigs, make sure to check out PB's website, www.pbproductsuk.co.uk.